Okay. All right, let's get this started. Okay, so we're gonna do, we're calling it the Cross the Bridge Challenge, all right? And if you haven't seen it yet, there's a page on the website that's specific to this. That will put all the details on. The scoreboard will live there. You'll be able to get to the form and everything. The registration form is on there. We're doing a $20 buy-in for it, and but if you have a second family member, you can sign them up for free. We want a lot of people to participate. Significant others as well can sign up for free as a second person. But the idea is that we're going to take what you guys buy in with, and then we'll host a party at the end, have prizes and stuff like that for the winners. So we're going to make it 60 days. So 60 days, you can do some significant, you can go undergo some really significant changes within 60 days if you follow this really tight. Okay. So there's 4 kind of phases to this, right? That first week, January 6th, before the 6th, we'll post the baseline and metrics that you have to complete. So you have, most of the week before, the end of the week after New Year's, to complete your testing and your baseline metrics. So we'll do measurements. I really, really recommend taking some before photos. All right, you guys can keep those around and share them with us if you have really good results, but if you want us to take them, we'll be here to do that. If you don't want to share those, take them, because that is it's probably like the best indicator of if you're heading in the right direction or the wrong direction based on the challenge. You can easily take a picture of yourself and say, yeah, I like where that's going, I'm compromising my body mass, or I'm staying the same, right? Because you step on the scale, you might gain some weight, or you might be just a little bit heavier that day. The scale is a frustrating thing, and then without doing something very specific like displacement water testing or something else, like going to a facility and getting your body mass calculated, some of the other things like the electronic scales and those types of things might just get frustrating for you. So take those pictures. That's a really easy way to kind of give yourself a comparison tool. So baseline, we'll get into the challenge. You're going to have a log every day. So that's what you guys are holding in your hands right now. We'll go over this log in detail. And then we'll have a testing and metrics at the end, and then results and prizes. And I'm kind of like, we'll figure out exactly how this works, but your daily behavior, as far as your score and total, literally your results and your score will be comprised of most 80 to 85% of the logs the daily behaviors that you execute and record. 15 to 20% are going to be testing and metrics. So somebody may have like an exceptionally improved mile time or something like that afterwards, which will weigh heavily into their results, but it isn't going to be a game changer, right? So those daily behaviors are really, really important. We'll talk about those in a second. And then we'll have a event after the 7th. So the 7th or the 8th will be, it's either a Friday or Saturday. So we'll have an event at the end of this for that. All right, but the scoreboard will post daily. Really encourage you to keep up to date every day with that. Don't get behind on that thing. If you get 3 and 4 days behind and your logs aren't detailed, you're going to lose steam on it. But these logs and doing it at the end of the day is kind of like your way to check in every day. If you're thinking about this thing, you will continue to do it. As soon as you slip and like, I'll get Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday's log recorded on Thursday or something like that. As soon as you start doing that, you start compromising, you start forgetting, you start not paying attention to your behaviors, and that's when you slide, right? So this is the daily behavior log. The intent is to keep it fresh in your mind, not in front of you, in your face, right? And then, of course, everybody will see that your scores are posted or that you're slacking behind, so it'll be like that group accountability. And then hopefully we get enough people in here to do it so that we can carry that momentum through. All right, so let's talk about these behaviors specifically. And I'll get into the beginning of the nutrition stuff, and maybe I'll talk about it briefly, but the January 2nd, we're going to come back next Thursday for this primal session and really dive down into the nutrition aspect. But I know you guys might have some questions off the rip. But if you have questions as we go through this, throw them out there and we'll talk about them. Or if I can't make a decision right now, then I'll get you an answer by the second. Cool? Cool. All right. Okay. So behaviors, and I kind of like ordered these in kind of a priority order almost, all right? So surprisingly, this is a nutrition challenge, right? Surprisingly, sleep is probably the number one thing that I want you guys to start on as far as a change in behavior is concerned. Sleep will set you up for success and behaviors in general, right? If you're, and on this challenge, or on this log, some of the things that address sleep are 8 hours minimum, right? Especially in the winter, your body's kind of geared towards this hydration, or hibernation kind of aspect anyway, with the long sunlight hours, short sunlight hours. So go for 8 hours of sleep, okay? That's a minimum to score that behavior point. The other things that are in here are, towards the end of this form, is that electronics off before you go to sleep. So computers, TVs, anything like that before you start to head into your sleep pattern. That light affects you, gets your brain going, you're kind of drifting off into these brain states that you don't want. Shut that shit off. Book is good. Or just, relax for 20 to 30 minutes before you go to bed. Completely black out your room. You don't want any light interrupting your sleep. Okay? So even like little flashing things and things that you don't think are affecting you, try to get rid of that shit. All right, that'll help you sleep better. And then try to keep your sleep patterns the same. You're going to get points for being able to go to bed and wake up within 30 minutes of the previous night's sleep. So if you don't want to get out of that habit of going to bed early all week, and then on the weekend staying up till 12 or 1 and then sleeping in or whatever, like those types of things. Try to make your sleep behavior patterns the same, and you get more bonus points for that. And then in addition, sleep prior to 10 p.m. So you guys can try to figure out if this is legit or not. But from in other discussions through other forums and things like that, but what I can't remember this doctor's name specifically, but what they found is that your brain, so your body needs a total of 8 hours of sleep, right, for recovery. When you come into CrossFit, you need to sleep to rebuild muscle, all that stuff, right? But your brain sleeps for 4 hours a night, and based on your circadian rhythm, no matter where you live, because of the hour, sunrise and sunset, typically your brain wants to sleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. in the morning. That's where it shuts down and it recovers. So you think about it, your body has all these mechanisms in there to aid in your recovery and rebuild your muscles, and you sweat and you sleep and you tear things down and rebuild things, but your brain is made of fat and water. That's all that's in there, right? And the whole day is running like a battery. Like the good analogy that I heard is your cell phone. So your cell phone's cranking all day long, your batteries, and it's get hot, right? You're using it. Your brain works the same way. There's all this electrical activity that's happening in there, and if you don't shut it down between 10 and 2, then your brain doesn't get to fully recover. So give that a try. And a lot of these things are for what they are, right? It's for what it's worth. And we use this concept called a black box, right? Try something for an extended period of time. If you'd like to keep it, if you don't see a difference, then move on, right? So just maybe trust in this fact. Try to get to sleep before 10 p.m. and sleep until 2 a.m. and let your brain rest. All right? So you get points for that. I think I talked about waking up at the same time too. Don't try not to sleep in. Try to get yourself to a point where you're waking up. What you might find if you change your nutrition habits is that you don't need an alarm clock anymore. And if you're in bed before 10 p.m. and asleep, and you make these habits consistent, then you'll just operate on your own schedule with you don't have to use anything to kind of gauge that for you. You just start to operate like that, right? You'll wake up in the morning and be ready to rock and roll. All right, so sleep, that's the first one. Any questions on sleep? Pretty self-explanatory, right? And the point that spoke of it there. What's up next?
So, like for me, I'm used to go to bed late. What's going to be my best way to shift that?
Stop going to bed late.
No, like if I lay down, I'm not sleepy.
Well, I mean, if you can get in here and get a workout in, right? Yeah. Shut everything off, right? Are you up working late typically?
Yeah.
Shut everything off. find something that's out of your usual shutdown mode. So here's another thing too that will help. So if you make a habit of some things that you start 30 minutes before you go to bed, so who knows what it is?
Shower.
Yeah, take a shower, brush your teeth, get a book out, sit in bed for 15 minutes, read your book, and make that your shutdown process. Then your body will start to get into that habit. But just try to force the issue. Get up earlier. You sleep in. You stay up late, or you burn up the candles at both ends.
Generally, I sleep until I wake up because I don't have to be like at 8 to 5, but I work late usually. I finish that by the time. I mean, I can shift it on. Just kind of stay used to doing it.
Yeah, try to shift out of that if you can get to bed before 10. Just give it a shot. See if you like it. See if it gives you find more energy in the earlier part of the day. All right, so sleep. Hydration, big one. And hydration comes in big time for sleep. They did some studies, no references, studies about sleep habits, and what they found was that the number one banger to sleep, the number one thing that crushes it is typically hydration. You're dehydrated by the end of the day, and people like to avoid drinking water before they go to bed or whatever because they think they'll be up all night going to the bathroom and things like that. But I want you to try this, and there's points on here specifically for it.
Chamber pots.
What's that?
Chamber pots.
Chamber pots.
Yeah, you just roll over,
whatever.
easy real quick, and you're good.
You put a trip extender in your bed, like a Gatorade bottle?
I actually have a little PVC pipe going down through the floor.
I don't doubt it. Well, there's points in here that you'll get points for 24 ounces of water 90 minutes before you go to sleep. All right, so get hydrated before you go to bed. What you might find, this is kind of a cool experiment, but what you might find is between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., you won't get up. Your brain will be shut down. You won't get up. Sometime after 2 to 3 or 2 to 4, and you might be getting up, going to the restroom. But at that time, then you can go back to sleep, and it's not going to be an issue. But try to drink some water. You might find that you will sleep better. I've tried it myself, but I think I like it a lot. Again, and then, so that's before you go to bed. As soon as you wake up, the first thing you need to put in your body is water. All right, so again, your brain is made of fats and waters, and all through the night, you're expelling water as you're sleeping, right? You don't realize it, but you're breathing it out. Get a bunch of water right when you wake up. Before you drink coffee, before you eat breakfast, before you take your fish oil, any of that stuff, drink 24 ounces of water. You'll find a big difference in how you feel with that as well. And then in addition, you'll get points for 64 ounces of water throughout the day. Right? So you should be drinking water all day long, right? And you'll find with the paleo side of the challenge, the nutrition aspect, there's not much else for you to drink besides water. All right, so you're gonna live on that. Cool with that? These two things together will set you up for a lot of good nutrition behaviors. You'll avoid craving, you'll help you get through this carb situation. You'll just be better set up. Your body will get into a rhythm. You'll go to the bathroom on a more regular schedule. You'll be hungry on a more regular schedule, and your energy levels will be much crisper and longer in duration without any kind of weird pattern or wave in them if you can get these in order. All right, so start there. All right, if you're having trouble in the middle of this thing, look at what you're doing with your sleep, look at what you're doing with your hydration first. Okay, and once you get into that, we'll follow the nutrition baseline. The nutrition components, the paleo side of things. Cool with that? All right. So so third in the priorities are nutrition and supplementation, right? This is where you're going to see your big results. You can bust your ass in here as much as you want, but it's going to be really hard to run a really crappy diet, right? We all know that. It's kind of takes 2 seconds to say, but that's worth $1 million, right? And then the fourth one, mobilization. So I'll hit on a couple of these before we get into the nutrition aspect. But we got what we call a mid-morning move. So at least 50 reps of some type of body weight movement. So that could be of your choosing. It can be a combination. You could do 25 push-ups, 25 squats, but something in the middle of your morning to get you moving. All right, or 10 minutes of primal stretches or longer holds. So mobility will also score the same amount of points, right? Lower in intensity, but still does wonders for working out in here. So you got a mid-morning move and you got a midday move, which is the same thing, but you're looking at that towards, think of between 2 and 3 o'clock or something like that. In addition, sitting is killing me, so get on your feet for, if you work a typical 8-hour workday, get on your feet for 6 hours of that workday. That's hard for a lot of people. If you have a desk job, it might be something that you have to change or reorganize your work situation, but stack some boxes or some shit, right? People, you might be an outlier for a little bit, but you're doing some great things for your body if you're just standing, all right? You don't have to stand on concrete. If you have to find a mat or something like that to stand on, do that. But get into a position where you're standing at your desk in a good upright position, so you don't want to be hunched over if you work at a computer or you're writing things down. You don't want to be hunched over like that. Get in a good organized position where you can engage your abs. We talked about the midline stabilization. Your abs should always be engaged at a 2 throughout the day, right? You should be engaged. You should be standing there ready to take a slap in the stomach for 6 hours a day. And that gets a little bit exhausting, right? And we can almost do a whole other section on this, but standing at your desk and not slumping over or breaking in that form, but you can do things that'll help you out. Like if you're standing for 6 hours, you can put a foot up and do like a Captain Morgan's pose. Right? That's exhausting. That'll take a lot of pressure off your spine. Just switching your feet. You can stand on one foot. You can change it up a lot just standing there, so you're not just sedentary, locked in. All right. If you're walking around, then you're probably fine. If you have like Beth's a nurse, so she's up on her feet all day. You guys are med students, so you're walking around all day. Not much of an issue, but when I sit at my desk all day with the software job, I notice it in here. I feel the strength leave that midsection of my body. If I'm mostly standing now, I stand at the desk all day, and I can tell a big difference in that. So if you need some creative ways to inspire other people around you to let you have that standing desk, then we can help with that. I got a ton of articles and things, and I'm doing a talk actually at my work for promoting standing desks. So if you need evidence of why you should be standing, let me know to make that happen. We've got, so outside of the mid-morning move and the daily move, I thought I had a section on. Yeah, 15 minutes of static stretching on your own or post-workout. That's another behavior in here. So long hold, we try to incorporate those in the classes, but 15 minutes of that in addition to your mid-morning and midday move. So a lot of mobilization, right? A lot of moving. So that's happening daily. That'll make you feel pretty good. And then there's 1 point in here for doing workout in here, and it's only going to be 1 point because a lot of the other these in here we're here for an hour, right? There's still 14 hours of your day that you've got to spend doing other things. So you only get 1 point for your workout in here, and you get all these other points for things that you're doing outside of in your regular life for good behavior. All right. Any questions on mobilization? No? Okay, so let's go into this nutrition part of this thing. I gave you guys this other handout, which is our fundamentals of nutrition handout. It's all online. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this nutrition part now, and we'll see where we go. I mean, make this wide open. So if you guys have questions or want to talk about specific things, or Tim, I know you talk about like you're on the go all the time, and how do I do? How do I follow this and make sense, or how do I get all the calories that I need? Those types of things. Throw that out there. We'll see where it goes. But we've got this whole other session next Thursday, January 2nd, to talk more in detail about paleo and how do I really do this. And I want to make that session like, what are the things that we found that help out, right? Because there'll be, if this is the first time that you've gone through this, there'll be this whole kind of discovery phase where, you get like 4 days in, you're sick of looking up paleo recipes and spending 2 hours preparing your food. You're like, what the hell do I eat? Like, I'm so sick of chicken that tastes bland, and I've got, like, you're kind of stuck, right? And then that's when people typically fall off the wagon. So the January 2nd is kind of going to be more of like a, how do I really negotiate this thing? But we're going to focus on the macronutrients, right? Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So and I should preface this too, is that you got to be very clear about what your goals are for this as well. Extremely low carbohydrate paleo nutrition is great for resetting your metabolic baseline and getting back to a state where you can taste food again, your body is not highly dependent on carbohydrates, you lose a lot of weight, those types of things. It is not, and again, what I'm saying is extremely low carbohydrate paleo is not ideal for performance, right? You've got to, if you're working out in here, going nuts, lifting a ton, you don't have a lot of fat on your body, you've got to reintroduce these carbohydrates after workouts and at points in your day in order to keep building muscle and not get into this state of fatigue, right? So if performance is your goal, you got to have those carbohydrates to refuel yourself. If weight loss is your goal, then what you're really trying to do is get your body to put down the carbs, stop starving for the carbs, stop having cravings, and burn your body fat. Okay? Does that make sense? So that being said, what are carbohydrate sources, right? Sugars from fruits, vegetables, starches, sweet potatoes, right? Anything like in that family of things, right? So if your idea of this challenge is to reset your metabolic baseline, lose a bunch of weight, then your really only sources of carbohydrates should be a shit ton of vegetables, right? And every once in a while, if you're really losing, or you really hit a long workout in here, like a long metcon, like that Christmas lot we did, or you do a hero lot or something like that, then you can reach for a sweet potato or something, or some kind of post-workout nutrition. If your goals are performance-oriented, then you've got to be coming to the gym, especially if the remainder of your day you're going to stay relatively low carbohydrate. You've got to be coming with the gym with a sweet potato in hand, or some of the recovery protein stuff that we're using. Mauricio's also testing out some interesting post-workout stuff, so you might want to talk to him about some of that stuff. But you've got to come in hand and be ready to reintroduce carbohydrates at the end of your day. You can also get those from fruits, right? So bananas, things that are going to put a lot of sugar in your blood. But the idea is that you use that after training. Okay? So you got that window after you work out. If performance is your thing, if rebalancing your body is your thing, don't come with that stuff. Stay away from the shakes and those types of things. All right, let your body go slide into that ketosis state for a long extended period of time. All right, this carbohydrate. The reason I wrote this one up here first, there's a section in this nutrition handout called "From the Coaches." If you go that route where you are going extremely low carbohydrate for these 60 days, you will hit a point, depending on where you're at, that you are like, this sucks, I'm stupid, I'm angry at everybody, I can barely put a sentence together, those types of things. That will happen to you. Right? That's where a lot of people fall off the wagon. They're like, my workouts are sucking, this is obviously not going to happen, let me just switch back to the way that I'm eating, or let me just satisfy one of those cravings by eating rice or grabbing a dessert or something like that. That's where you really got to fight through that and get to the point where your body switches over and starts burning fat. Okay? So, any questions on those carbohydrates in general? Everybody knows where those come from, right? Sugars, grains, right? Okay. Good on that. So second to that, though, grains are if you look back on your score sheet, any type of grain or bean, is going to be a problem, right? These do not exist in our performance-oriented or the ketogenic type framework for diet, right? We're going to put down grains. Okay, we can get into the specifics of that later, but the idea is that when your body starts breaking these things down, it looks at grains and what eventually digests down into as a foreign body. It irritates your bowel, these little pieces of those particles slip into your bloodstream and your body attacks it. It causes an immune system reaction and your body is constantly inflamed. So this is one of the other cool things that paleo and kind of this clean eating mentality brings is that it quiets all that inflammation, it quiets all that noise, it quiets all that crap that you're putting your body through, right? So, I mean, think about it like tell me if this is a fact, that from your mouth out the other end is your single largest interface to the world, including your skin.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so if you think about it, the surface area of your inside and your guts, right? What you're putting in your mouth is your single biggest interface to the world, right? Your skin has less surface area and is probably more protectant to outside hazards than the inside of your body. So if you're introducing things like pesticides and from our vernacular, grains, or these things that your body just does not like or is not used to, because they're kind of agricultural revolution things. That's why it's paleo, right? It was available early on, right before agriculture. But if that's your single biggest interface, that is the way you change yourself, right? As far as your body composition and things. That's a pretty powerful consideration when you're looking at food, right? Okay. So moving on, protein. So there's a thing in there. So anything that had a soul or a face, right, is protein. Soy never had a soul nor a face. It is not protein. Okay? It was a meat, it was hunted, it was living at some point. There are levels of quality in there. We're not going to get too picky on what your choices are as far as grass finished or even fish, fresh or farmed, but figure out what those things mean, right? Grass finished beef is always going to be better than farm raised beef, right? Farmed fish. They're finding out some pretty nasty things about farmed fish that you should just absolutely, you're shaking your head, stay away from it, right? It's nasty, right? Fresh caught fish. It's out there, go find it, it's worth eating. Some of that shit is nasty. Chicken, free range, right? Free range and organic, these are things that you should be looking for. In addition to that, your produce too, right? Obviously organic is a better choice. Organic is more important for some fruits and vegetables than not. I've actually got some pretty good graphics and things like that have some information for that I can post. Let me make a note. I'll put an article of that, or some of these things out that we have on that up on the site.
Or like the top two, do you know?
What's that?
Like the top two, you should always buy organic.
The top for vegetables?
Yeah.
I want to say things like strawberries are up there. So anything that doesn't have a skin, like a robust shell that can protect itself. So like a orange is going to be better. Is orange versus strawberry, right? Strawberries are very susceptible to whatever you're putting on them, but orange is going to be more resilient because of the thick skin. So that's one way to kind of tell. Second, I don't know. I can't think of the second one right now. Okay, so protein should be relatively easy, right? Eggs is always a big one. Eat the yellow part. It's fine. All right. We can get into this whole cholesterol discussion too later on, and maybe we can. I owe you that, right? Cholesterol thing.
Quail eggs are another great option, and I know you can get them. They're local, not quite organic.
And then fat. So this is the hard one. This is the one that people always get bent up on. And this is the one that can make you succeed or fail in this whole thing. All right, so make sure that you're getting a fat every time you're eating. All right, if you've got really clean proteins, you get a little bit of fat from that, right? That are good sources of fat. Avocados, coconut oil, olive oil. I'm gonna talk about nuts in a second. But yeah, nuts are good sources of fat. There's a list of them in that nutrition handout of the things that we kind of recommend. One thing that I really liked, and Tim, this is maybe some of your questions about you can't get enough calories, or you're you're hungry all the time because that you're following these other rules, right? Fats will get you by there. So half an avocado with every meal, a whole avocado every meal. You can play with those things. There's another thing that I really liked recently, because I always eat early breakfast, and then I'm always starving by lunchtime. There's a Bulletproof Executive sells this stuff called MCT oil. It's medium chain triglyceride oil. It's derived from coconuts, and that has been, you take like 2 tablespoons. I put it with my coffee, but there's other things you can do to get it in your body. But that is like it's satisfying. Like I'll stumble upon 1 o'clock, 12 or 1 o'clock, and not be hungry yet because I had a lot of fat due to that MCT oil that I took in the morning with my eggs, and that just satiates me. But that's where you can get most of the time if you're really lacking in calories. You can eat a bunch of protein, right? You can eat a bunch of vegetables. So if you have like 2 chicken breasts and a whole plate of broccoli, that's a ton of food. It's going to take you forever to eat. You're going to feel very full when you finish it. But if you haven't introduced that fat in an hour and a half, you're going to be looking for something. So all you need to do is throw that avocado on top, and that's going to get you all the way through till dinner. In addition, fat is not, when we're saying fat, it's not the fat that you carry around your body, right? Your body knows how to handle these good, dense, high-quality fat sources. Where you put on the fat is because of the amount of sugar that you're eating through your carbohydrates. So again, back to that performance-oriented thing, everybody needs the fat. Whether your weight loss is your goal or performance is your goal, everybody has to ingest that fat. Don't steer away from that, okay? That'll get you by. When you switch over to, when you cut these out, if you're going the ketogenic route, the metabolic reset, if you're going low carbohydrate, after you cut those out, this fat will be what you're burning for fuel. Okay, does that make sense? So understand that. Really, if you learn one thing through this 60 days, learn how to understand what these fats are. Okay? And obviously, too, like just this talk is not going to get you all the way through. You're going to find a bunch of other questions, so make sure that you send us email. We got a coaches at ironbridgecrossfit.com. If you send an email to that, all of us will see it, and somebody will respond with that information, or we'll post it to this site page so everybody can see it. Okay? All right, any questions on those 3? No? All right. So another thing that you'll get points for is taking fish oil. Okay, we like that for aiding in recovery. If you got some joint issues or things like that, we really like that supplement of fish oil. And I think I've got on there 3,000 to 5,000. It's IUs, it's international units. It's just how they measure it. And D3. And then what we're going to do, I don't care where you get it from, but if you're taking fish oil, you need to be looking at EPA, DHA, and how much the product that you take has in it, right? So that you can have the stuff that we sell, the Strong, Faster, Healthier stuff, you definitely get your 5,000 IUs out of that for their per serving size. You might find there's a Kirkland product that Costco sells. You'd have to take like 5 servings of that to get the volume of IUs that we want you to take. Does that make sense? So you're just going to be eating a ton more pills, even though you think you're paying less per pill. But you're really not. You wind up paying the more or the same to get the levels of EPA and DHA that we want you to have. All right, so you get points for that, but that's totally an opinion on you. D3, the fish oil that we have has D3 in it, but you need to be getting your D vitamins. All right, so whether you do that, and then on the score sheet, you can either have 20 minutes of unprotected sunlight, like just hanging out, tanning or whatever. I don't know how you're gonna do that in the winter. Maybe you can figure it out. But D3 from there, or a supplement, which is obviously a second choice. But that's gonna work wonders for your immune system. It's gonna help you sleep better and all those types of things. So we really want you to get those levels of D3. And then if you're in the context of supplementation, if your goals are performance oriented, then for pre and post workout stuff, pre-workout, you're looking for protein in the fat, okay? And whenever you can stomach that, some people can take it like 30 minutes before, some people can need to give it an hour, hour and a half. So you're looking for a protein in the fat before you work out, and then after you work out, you're looking to introduce some carbohydrates and protein as well. So this is only the pre and post workout nutrition, only if your goals are performance oriented. Cool. And then what we're gonna add. So we do that Strong Fest or healthier stuff. We don't do the shipping and handling. We give y'all 10% more on what you can buy it online. And if you're doing the Paleo Challenge, we'll add another 10% onto that if you want to try that stuff. But I really like it, but I don't need to push it at all. But that's a really good supplement line to take. We got the fish oils and crap, like samples and stuff, so if you want to do that afterwards, we can do that too. Questions on the supplements? Getting is what you need throughout the day.
Just some days it's tough. Like I don't have like a set lunch break where I can take half an hour for lunch or whatever. Some days I don't have half an hour at all, so difficulty is finding something that I can throw in my backpack. Like right now I use either protein bars or protein shakes that I can literally 45 seconds eat it, and then it holds me over. If I don't have anything like that, then I don't eat for 8 or 10 hours. So that's the difficulty.
Okay.
I mean, you can bring beef jerky and carrot sticks, but you can't eat that in 45 seconds like you could drink a protein shake.
Yeah. So I'll do that. I know we've talked about that before, but then when we come back around in a second, I'll find some information on how people are doing that too.
I want to impress the faculty, so I can't just be taking lunch.
Oh my god. And then, well, the other point to that too is that not eating is going to get you in a world of shit too, right? It's just this cadence that we're trying to set with sleep and hydration and those regular rhythms. If you don't eat, then you're going to mess yourself up as well, and that's going to be hard to get back in the groove.
What about whey protein powder?
It's on the fence, right? But I mean, if performance is your goal and you're gonna use that right after you work out, then it's definitely something that you want to be able to use. Are you asking if it's paleo or not?
I mean, I guess it's not, is it?
I guess in the purest form it's not, but I mean, again, these workouts aren't paleo, right? They're an addition. It's like we're getting bigger and faster and stronger doing these workouts. So if you're gonna train hard, then we're gonna introduce those supplements to support that. So I'm giving it a thumbs up for the challenge if performance is your goal.
Okay.
Just know that if weight loss is your goal, then you're gonna stifle that a little bit because of the sugars and things that are typically in some of the proteins that make them taste good. Unless you're getting some really straight up shit, which tastes kind of nasty.
Ours is pretty good. We usually steal it as it's sweet.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like best you can get. At least it doesn't use like dextrose or anything.
Go up glycemic index or the load on those is really low. Yeah.
Are you gonna go over like briefly today the do's and don'ts? I know that you're going to touch more on that in a second.
Yeah, we can talk about. So on here, like if you look at the scoreboards, or there's cheats listed, the bottom section, and These are, there's a, the penalties with these so-called cheats are, they're weighted, and it's a percentage of your possible behavior points. But I'm not telling you how many there are. We're trying to have a way to score this thing without saying alcohol is 2 points, right, or whatever it is, 10 points or something like that. Trying to disconnect the scoring from the food, but give you some way to score your day, some way to score your behavior. So the don'ts on here, salt. This is a minor one. It's a minor infraction, but you really need to be looking at how much salt. The only reason there's a bunch. Everybody's always back and forth on salt, right? But the big reason that it's on here is that if you're constantly salting your food, you're bastardizing your taste buds and you don't taste food anymore. If you can cut salt out for a period of time, 2, 3, 4 weeks, you'll be surprised that things don't taste so bland anymore when you eat them in the paleo framework, if that makes sense. Everything that, if you're just kind of doing the SAD, or that acronym, right, Standard American Diet, if you've done that, you're eating so much sodium that you're not tasting food anymore. You're just tasting the shit that some other asshole is injecting into the food to make you keep consuming it. So salt is one of those things that we salt everything, and we crave that salt. But if you cut it out for a while, your taste buds will go back to normal, and you can eat a piece of broccoli and enjoy it without anything on it. Right? So that's why salt's on there. Dairy, I marked on here is the post-watch date for the whey fact, right? Because it's in that dairy genre. We're avoiding dairy just because most folks are some level of lactose intolerant, and unless you're very specific, so like there's some of the shit that we're into now is that things like raw milk or goat's milk, if you get it and it's unpasteurized, like if you get these very good sources of dairy, then people are having an easier time digesting them and seeing benefits from them. But they're very hard to find, and it's easier for us to say no dairy than it is to say very specific source of dairy, if that makes sense. Typically what you find is that the way that dairy is processed, and you cut out all the fat benefits from dairy, especially if you're drinking skim milk. If you can cut that out for a while, for 30 days or so, and then reintroduce it, it's going to screw your world up, right, for at least a couple hours, right, or the rest of your evening. So what that kind of tells you is that your body doesn't like that, right? It's not used to digesting that, it doesn't like to handle it very well. Dairy does have some good benefits if you're drinking the full fat stuff as far as growth factor is concerned, but that's not really a goal of these 60 days, if that makes sense. So we can get more specific on dairy and performance-oriented information. I can supply that later, so we can have it, but dairy is a don't. Sweeteners, we've got 2 categories of sweeteners, natural and non-natural. So natural sweeteners are still going to be a penalty, and non-natural is going to be much heavier weighted. So like anything that's processed white sugars or high fructose corn syrup, those types of things that are really jacking us up as a society, those things are going to penalize you more. Alcohol, I might be making some adjustments to the actual allowance that I have on here. Honestly, if you can, alcohol is going to penalize you heavily. There's a lot of sugar in that. When you start breaking it down, it's going to degrade it's going to impact every one of these components. Alcohol, like, rust out your joints. It's going to jack up your food. You're going to be more apt to crave carbohydrates if you're drinking. It's going to mess up your hydration, obviously dehydrates you, and it's going to mess up your sleep patterns. You don't sleep as well if you drank even during that day, right? So it's a don't. It's going to hurt you a lot in this, and if you can cut that out, you're going to see, especially if weight loss is your goal, you're going to see some big gains from cutting that out. And then we have, there's another section on here for starchy and slow carbs. So potatoes, beans or legumes, and rice will also penalize you either into that green. And then we've got grains, and then any other excessive alcohol is the last section under, uh-oh, this is going to hurt. So those are the don'ts.
Beans, same as the grains.
Yeah, we kind of fit into that legume family.
No peanut butter.
No peanut butter.
Artificial sweeteners.
Artificial sweeteners,
It's not food.
that's, yeah. So that'll fall under the non-natural.
So like for Phil, he likes to chew a lot of gum. Is that going to be like an issue?
That's going to be, yeah.
What about like caffeine, like coffee? Is that okay?
Coffee is allowed, but not in excess. I don't have anything on here for that. I should probably put it on.
What do we call an excess of caffeine?
Like a pre-workout.
8, 9 cups?
I'll get you some milligrams.
400 milligrams of caffeine 4 times a day, is that too much?
400 milligrams 4 times a day.
Mine's at 1 to 2 cups somewhere.
And along with like artificial sweeteners and caffeine, like a pre-workout.
Yeah,
Okay.
someone has stopped.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's, again, see, that's why this gets hard, right? So it's the balance of performance-oriented versus paleo, metabolic, yeah. So that's, and I know everybody in here is going to have, you're probably going to be on one side of the fence or the other, right? You're going to be
You
in the
can draw
performance
that
camp.
spectrum of the sick, wellness, and performance spectrum. It's a better understanding. Because let's say you have the spectrum, right? So here is sickness, and on top of the spectrum you have wellness, being healthy. In order to achieve that, eating paleo foods, it's going to get you there based on health markers, blood, body fat composition, that kind of stuff. And if you're seeking performance or elite fitness, let's put it that way, you're going to have to start counting your macronutrients, carbohydrates, protein, and fat. So it just depends on where you want to be. Staying with paleo foods is just a better way just because of the sources where they come from. You can get all your macronutrients from McDonald's if you want to. You just read the label and you can get X amount of protein, carbs, and fat. Just portion it out. But paleo foods is just about the quality of it, not the quantity per se.
One of the performance kind of aspects.
Yeah, and if you're seeking performance, and then quantity is one of the variables.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any questions? None yet? If you think of any, just holler and we'll make it. I'm trying to think of get a way that we can have like kind of an open forum too, that we can answer those types of questions. Is this okay? Is that okay? And then on January 2nd, we'll really get into it a little bit more.
The calories one is always good, or how to keep track of them. Every time I try and eat healthy, I end up not eating any calories, just eating vegetables. And
Yeah.
then I stop and actually count calories. I'm not getting enough.
Yeah, and that's where that's where those fats.